Have you ever sat one of those high-stakes technical meetings, just listening to the everyday English phrases being tossed around?
Oh, yeah. And you think they're just casual business speak, right?
Exactly. But then you suddenly realize there's this secret code operating right out in the open.
Hmm.
So today, we're doing a deep dive into a confidential presentation deck that actually exposes 5 of these critical phrases.
Because, if you hear a term like across the board and you just think it means everyone, you are already losing the negotiation.
Yeah, totally losing. The deck actually talks about implementing new vibration standards across the board for all joint modules.
Right. Basically, the robotic hinges.
Yeah, the hinges that allow movement. Now, normally, if you just say this applies to everyone, it still leaves wiggle room, right? Like a
Mhm.
department head might ask for an exemption because their specific module is, unique.
Well, yeah. But saying across the board feels absolute. It just shuts down the debate before it can even start.
It's like you're locking the doors on them.
Literally locking the doors. If a leader says across the board, they are deliberately establishing ultimate authority. You aren't just communicating a rule, you're neutralizing resistance entirely.
Which makes sense, because if you're going to apply ruthless new standards across the board, you often realize the old systems just can't handle them.
Yep, and at that point, you have no choice but to start from the ground up.
Exactly. The deck uses the example of designing an entirely new humanoid robot platform from the ground up for maximum flexibility.
Wait, though, isn't ground up just a dramatic way of saying we're doing a major software update?
Not at all.
I mean, why completely throw away a legacy system that has millions of dollars of R&D behind it?
Well, because if you merely improve a legacy system, you're still permanently boxed in by its original architectural flaws.
Oh, I see. You carry the old problems with you.
Exactly. A true ground-up approach requires abandoning those sunk costs. It means starting from absolute scratch, which, prioritizes originality over mere iteration.
It's a massive risk, though. It's huge. But sometimes it's the only way to meet those new absolute standards.
Okay, so you've burned the old systems down and you're building from scratch. The pressure is on, timelines are incredibly tight. How do the engineers actually make rapid decisions?
That's where the deck highlights this concept of the back-of-the-envelope calculation.
Yeah, they give a scenario where an engineer estimates energy efficiency will increase by 15%, just doing the math on scrap paper.
Which is wild, right?
That is. I mean, in an era of artificial intelligence and massive supercomputers, corporate strategy still hinges on a rough guess scribbled out at a coffee shop.
But that tension between data and human intuition is exactly why the phrase matters so much. A back-of-the-envelope calculation happens long before the formal AI simulations even run.
Right.
It honors a veteran engineer's instinct. It's the human logic guiding the data, making sure we don't let the data blindly dictate the logic.
Oh, like if an AI predicts a 50% efficiency boost, but a veteran looks at it, does some napkin math, and says, no, the physics won't actually allow that.
Exactly. It grounds the hype in reality.
And sometimes that veteran logic points to something so glaringly obvious that you don't even need the napkin math. The deck calls this a no-brainer.
Yeah, like investing in AI diagnostics for reducers.
Right. And for you listening, reducers are essentially the complex gearboxes that control a robot's speed and torque.
Yeah.
If a reducer fails, the whole million-dollar machine just stops. So paying for software that predicts those failures before they happen, no-brainer.
The advantage is just so overwhelming that debate is a waste of company time. You just execute.
So you've laid the groundwork, trusted the veteran instincts, grabbed the obvious wins. What is the end game of all this technical maneuvering?
The final phrase we see in this deck is elevate. Specifically, elevating the TSOF1 brand, their flagship line, to compete in the high-end market.
But wait, why not just say increase? I mean, elevate sounds so much more prestigious.
Because saying increase implies you're still playing the same game, just trying to score more points. Saying elevate tells your team you're moving to an entirely different league.
A league where the old competitors don't even exist anymore.
Exactly. It implies a complete qualitative transformation. You aren't just tweaking market share percentages on a spreadsheet.
You're changing the literal height and status of the project.
Right. It signals a paradigm shift from daily operational tasks to a much higher strategic plane.
So mastering these phrases really gives you a map to executive psychology. You understand how to enforce standards across the board, when to build from the ground up.
And why we trust back-of-the-envelope math.
Yeah. And how to spot the no-brainers and ultimately elevate your projects. It instantly signals confidence.
It does, which brings up a dangerous blind spot, actually.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, if a back-of-the-envelope calculation relies entirely on a veteran engineer's past experience, could relying too heavily on those no-brainer instincts actually blind a company
Blind them to what?
to subtle, disruptive innovations that simply don't fit the old rules?
Wow. That is the exact question you need to be asking yourself the next time you're sitting in one of those high-stakes meetings. Listen closely to those phrases, because you might just hear the future being built.